Welcome to the Mind Myself podcast. I'm Esther, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you information about healthcare approaches, health issues, and people's health journey stories, all from the complementary, holistic, and integrative perspectives, helping you become your own best health advocate and helping you make your own informed choices because you matter. Welcome back to the Mind Myself podcast, Fertility Over 40, Part 2. We're so excited to have Eva Reed back with us. Boy, is she a fount of knowledge and wisdom and experience. You are in for a treat for the second part of this podcast. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you. Hello. I'm very happy to be here again.
Excellent. So perhaps you could just refresh us of your credentials and how you're coming to us here today.
Sure. So I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I have been working in fertility and women's reproductive health for over 5 years. And I focus on fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum.
Excellent. And I think you had a disclaimer statement that you wanted to make sure people knew about.
Sure. Yes. I just wanted to clarify again that I'm not a physician. So this information is for informational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose or cure anything. And you should always consult with your doctor before making any changes to your health.
Excellent. Just a recap of what we covered in the previous session. What's age got to do with fertility? What are some of the things that negatively affect fertility that diet can help with? Some challenges that occur in aging and fertility, specific dietary changes, and what you can do to clean out your larder before and in preparation for having an optimal body and system in getting ready for conceiving. So let's dive into the topic today. What are the most important nutrients that women trying to conceive should be thinking about adding to their diet?
Yes. So there are a few important ones. I mean, all vitamins and minerals are important, but there are some key ones for fertility. So iron is one of the top. It's the most common deficiency in women in general, but has been shown to prevent ovulation and contributed for egg health. So iron. Secondly, the B vitamins, so especially all the B vitamins, especially folate. It's not just important for pregnancy, it's important for conception as well. And if you're trying to conceive, you want to try to get at least 400 micrograms each day versus if you're pregnant, you want to focus on 600. So folate, but it's not just folate. B6 has been shown to help with conception as well, as it helps with ovaries and releasing the egg around ovulation. B5 is important for adrenal health, which helps all of our hormones, and B12 as well. So has been shown to be helpful with female fertility. Another nutrient that's key is magnesium. So magnesium does so much for our body, including helping to control FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone, super important for fertility. So you need proper levels to balance progesterone and estrogen, and magnesium can help with these things. It helps with a few other things with fertility, but I just wanted to end there. And then other minerals like selenium, zinc, iodine. So these are more trace minerals, but also super important. For example, zinc supports regulating our hormone function and ovulation and cell division. So you want to make sure you're getting enough of these in your diet. And vitamin D. So we're all usually a little vitamin D deficient, but especially in the winters, I want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D throughout the year. It not only helps our body to not overreact to foreign DNA from our sperm, which helps us to actually conceive. It helps to regulate our immune system, which has a lot to do with fertility as well. So I'll just quickly mention, there's a study that found women who were vitamin D deficient were half as likely, like 50% less likely to conceive than women with sufficient vitamin D levels. So super important. And last thing I'll say about vitamin D is you'll get like a recommended daily dose on packaging is usually 600 IU. but keep in mind that this is a fat soluble vitamin, and it depends on where your vitamin D levels are. Like if you're really deficient, you probably want to do a lot more. So I would recommend as high as like 5,000 IU a day to replenish your stores. And lastly, so the ones that are also important are those antioxidants like vitamin C and E, which help to improve egg quality and do some other things for help as well, increase cervical mucus, and some other things. So vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, those are also very important.
Wow. And so you're talking about vitamins. Do you recommend that women get these in supplement form or in their diet or a combination? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So as a nutritionist, I will always say diet first. You want to try to focus on your diet, not rely on supplementation. However, when we're trying to conceive, and also in general, it might be beneficial to add a little bit more, help our bodies along with getting a little more through supplementation. For example, I would definitely recommend getting on a prenatal now if you're trying to conceive now, because well, for a few different reasons, but if we're just taking an example, so folate, which again we've talked about its importance, and it helps to also reduce the risk of neural tube defects in babies. It's really important those first few weeks of conception more than any other time. So you might not even know you're pregnant, and that folate might be doing its thing. So you want to start taking it before, not when you are actually pregnant. And yes, there are other supporting supplements that I would recommend. I already mentioned bees, so I would take a bee complex as a supplement because all the bees tend to work best together. I've also mentioned the importance of vitamin D, so I would supplement with that, especially in the winter months. And probiotics. So we haven't talked that much about digestion yet, but digestion really impacts fertility, and probiotics our gut biome is low in a lot of people, but it also decreases with age. So if you're someone over 40, you might be depleted, and you really want to give yourself that extra boost. Like there are fermented foods that help with our gut biome, like kimchi, sauerkraut, all those kinds of probiotic rich foods. But usually people are not getting enough probiotics, so I'd recommend supplementing with that. And finally, and this is particularly true for women over a certain age, if you're over 40, it's recommended over the age of 37 onward to supplement with coenzyme Q10. So CoQ10 for short. It's essentially just a small molecule found in pretty much every cell of the body, including ovarian follicles. It's a super strong antioxidant. It helps to protect our eggs from cell damage. And make sure that our mitochondria are producing enough ATP. So again, it decreases with age, and it's hard to get it just from food. So this is something I would definitely recommend supplementing with. About 400 to 600 milligram per day, I would say.
Wow, there's so much to take in. I look forward to seeing a blog about this so I can have a list and go, wow, that's just so much, and what great information. And how do herbal remedies fit into this, if they do?
They definitely do. There are lots of great herbs that help with fertility, but I will again say which one to take will depend on what's happening in your body, because they do different things. But just to give you a quick list, so evening primrose oil is really, really great. It's very powerful. It's shown to boost progesterone and reduce inflammation in the body. So for example, if you're someone who has lower progesterone, then that might be something to think about taking in the luteal phase in the second half of your period, or in your cycle. Raspberry leaf is another good one. It's been used for thousands of years. It's used as an ovarian stimulant to help enhance estrogen and progesterone production. Also does some other great things, but yeah, so that's a good one. Vitex. So you may have heard of Vitex a lot. It's also known as chasteberry or chestberry. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But it's a plant, a herb that promotes the release of luteinizing hormone, which again is super important for fertility. So someone will benefit from taking that throughout their cycle. And then I don't know if we mentioned this earlier in our last one, but depending on what's happening with your hormones, a lot of women who have hormonal issues, especially with adrenal releasing hormones, benefit from adaptogens. So herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola can be really beneficial for like helping reduce stress, improve sleep, combat inflammation, general immune function. Adaptogens are brilliant because they essentially help to adapt your body wherever you're off balance. So ashwagandha and rhodiola as well. But again, it depends on who you are and what you're dealing with. So I'd consult with your doctor.
Awesome. Or they could make a session with you as well and develop an individualized and specific plan of what's
they could
their stage and all of that as well. So we've talked about diet, we've talked about supplements and herbal remedies. Now, what about lifestyle changes? What should people be thinking about in that regard?
Yeah, great question, because you can't out eat a bad lifestyle. So it depends on where you're coming from, what you're dealing with. But for most people, three things I think are really important. Number one, reducing toxic load in your life. So that includes detoxifying your home, any personal care products that you use. Most of these are loaded, like the standard off the, the stuff you find on the shelf is loaded with toxic chemicals, xenoestrogens, which mess with our hormones, or endocrine disruptors. So anything that has, I won't give you the list of specific ingredients, but you want to look at what's in there, do your research. Is this actually good for me? And try to replace them with more natural options. There's also some like great do-it-yourself things you can do, especially for home products that are super easy and effective. So yeah, do that research. The second one is stress management. I cannot stress enough, haha, pun intended, what a big impact it has on our bodies and fertility. So and it can, if we're talking about like fertility over 40 as well, I find with my clients, sometimes it has a vicious cycle. It's like the struggles with infertility will create more stress, and the stress creates more infertility. So really having a handle on it, on how to manage your stress, having some coping techniques when it happens is going to be very, very important. And then thirdly, sleep. So again, another thing that affects other hormones, because our cortisol cycle, like our sleep-wake cycle, will affect all kinds of other hormones, and vice versa sometimes too. So when you're not getting enough sleep and not enough quality sleep, it can wreak havoc. So just doing, following proper sleep habits, like no technology before bed, no late night snacking, no stimulants. There's lots of things that you can do to really make sure you're getting enough proper sleep. So I'd say those are the three biggest things.
Amazing. And as a holistic nutritionist, you've talked about mind-body connection. So this seems to be a really important thing. It's not just digestion. It's not just herbal remedies or supplements. It's and sleep and detoxifying, but it's the mind-body connection too. I'm hearing a strong link. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. Thank you for asking this, because so often that connection is not addressed when it comes to certain treatments. And it's been proven again and again that people who make the effort to think positively and really be mindful about or intentional about certain things can impact their bodies on a cellular level. So when it comes to issues with fertility, especially with being over 40, there are lots of emotions that can come with this. And those emotions can impact us on a cellular level, especially fear. And that can range from fear of not getting pregnant, or maybe fear about getting pregnant and what that means for your life and your lifestyle, or fear of loss, especially if there's like a history of loss, or fear of complications maybe during pregnancy, or maybe not being a good parent. Like there's so many things to unwrap. And these fears can prevent our bodies from actually being open to conception. So I think it's important to find ways to process these fears and negative emotions, whether that's, as simple as talking to a friend or journaling or going further and speaking to a counselor, or it's important to process them out. And then once you process these emotions, I would recommend finding ways to replace those negative emotions and thoughts with fertility supporting ones. So you can do this with a wide range of things, from visualization or visualization exercises to just meditation, like really meditating on and being tuned with your body in different ways, to affirmations. I'm a fan of all these things, especially affirmations. For example, you could repeat a mantra to yourself at the end of the day, like, my body is a fertile place worthy of conception, or my fertility is improving every day. So you can write things that are particularly true for you, and you'll know which ones those are. But having that up around the house and really repeating it to yourself can help.
That's awesome. And we've also heard of lots of technologies. So what are some of the most common assisted reproductive technologies available on the market? And everything that you've been saying, how can diet and lifestyle help with them or improve their successes?
Yeah, so the first, artificial insemination was usually what it's referred to, or IUI for short, is one. There's also IVF in vitro fertilization. So there's other things, but those tend to be the most commonly used. And if you're trying to conceive over 40, it's quite probable, like, a fertility clinic would give you all of your options, of course, but probably steer you towards IVF from the beginning. But so did you want me to go into the procedures, or sorry?
No, just maybe just touch on what each one of them is, just very briefly.
Sure. So
the major ones.
Yeah, so IUI is a procedure that's done by collecting a semen sample and then is directly inserted in the uterus. So this may be done in combination with fertility medications, and sometimes the semen has to be washed to separate, like, the good sperm from maybe like weaker sperm, and then inserted into the uterus. While IVF, to be clear, so with IUI, the actual the meeting of the sperm and the and the egg happens inside the woman's body. While by comparison, IVF involves hormone injections for egg maturation and production, then harvesting those eggs and fertilizing them outside the body. So fertilizing them in a lab, and then transferring those embryos, which are already fertilized, back into the uterus. Yeah.
And do you have a recommendation, or that completely depends on the individual or couple and where they're at?
Yeah, it really is there are many decisions that come with something like that. I would say, do your research of what your options are, meet with a fertility doctor, get all your questions answered, and it'll depend on, like, since we're talking about fertility over 40, a lot of it has to do with how much time you have left, and what you want to sort of go for first, if you even need the reproductive technology. But I will say that there are some, like in Ontario anyways, I can't remember what it's like in BC, there are some reproductive technologies and different assistance that you can get for free, that's covered by the government, but is only done so until the age of 42. Right. So if you're over that age, you kind of miss the boat. So for example, the first round of IVF is covered. So if you're in your early 40s and you're investigating what your options are, you might want to just go for it, because it can be quite costly afterwards. So yeah, I would say do your research, write down all your questions, and go through them one by one with your fertility doctor.
Such amazing information, and I feel like we're only scratching the surface here. There's so much more to learn. But just to wrap us up, what advice would you give to someone who's either approaching 40 or just at 40 or over 40, and they're just beginning this fertility journey and thinking about having a family now? what
Mhm.
advice would you give to wrap us up today?
Sure. So I would say, I would tell them, first of all, it is very possible to still conceive naturally. Don't feel stressed out about that, and try all the things. But I would also recommend consulting with a fertility doctor or going to clinic as early as possible, just to get your options. Because like I just mentioned, some are only available to you up to a certain age. So just knowing what your options are, I think, is important right away. And the second thing I would do is, in terms of we talked about some of the things you can do today and last time in terms of diet and lifestyle. I would, even if you're just thinking about starting a family, do that right away, because anything you do today won't have an impact on your egg health, like your egg quality, for at least 3 months into the future. It's just how our bodies work. So even if you're just thinking about it, give yourself the best chance possible by making the changes now, so that possibly in 3 months plus you can have a higher chance of conceiving. And the last thing I would just say is, know that you're not alone. Like, there are a lot of women in the same boat as you, and who, for a number of reasons, lives are difficult and complicated. For a number of reasons, may not have wanted a family before, or couldn't have a family before, and are just starting to think about it now. So find a community. I think it'll be when we're talking about that mind-body connection from before, it's going to be very helpful to have others to speak to who are going through a similar journey as you. So there's lots of Facebook groups, and you can find other ways to find supportive groups through your practitioner.
Fantastic, Eva. This has been such an amazing session of information. And thank you for spending your time to come here and share that with us. And we just so appreciate your expertise and wisdom for us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Oh, you're so welcome. And for those of you watching, if you want to book a session with Eva or find out more about her or more of her writings that she's sharing with us, do check out the Mind Myself website, and the information will be listed below. Thank you again for spending your time with us at Mind Myself.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us at the Mind Myself podcast today. We know that time is precious, and you've spent some of your valuable time with us. We're grateful. If you would like to reach out to our guests directly, the information is below. And if you would like more from Mind Myself, that information is also below. Please visit our website and check out all the information about the different complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare approaches, information about health issues, more podcasts, tons of blogs, and we even have a community page for you where you could reach out and tell your story safely, or you could ask questions, and perhaps somebody else in the world is going through something similar to you. In any case, we're so glad you're with us, and we're doing this because you matter.